One quick note before we start. Only in America, the Van Dyke Parks Veronica Valerio EP that we were giving away, that drawing is still going on. If you want to enter, go to our website, rockandrollgradschool.com, sign up for our newsletter, and you're entered. Now, here's the show.
This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. They came from somewhere back in your long ago.
Hello, kiddies. We're going to have a good time together. Okay, there we go. Perfect.
I just want to sing Quinn the Eskimo.
I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Any reason in particular, or just because?
Well, like the mighty Quinn.
Right. Oh, because of our guest.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm an idiot. Yes. Okay, sorry.
Aren't we talking about our guest?
We are, and I don't know. I'm sorry. I am back now.
It's fine.
Yes. So this week we've got Quinn Sullivan.
Yeah.
How would you describe him? Like, I feel like singer-songwriter sort of does a disservice to his guitar skills, but he even says in the interview, like, don't call me a blues musician. I mean, he doesn't say that, but like, it's very much, I got the feeling like, well, yeah, there's some blues, but I'm trying to get beyond that.
Well, right. Well, he was a not protege. He was a, what's the word? Virtuoso. What is it?
That's a good one. Yes.
Yeah. And began his musical career very young.
Depressingly young. Yes.
Yeah. And worked with B.B. King, was on every talk show known to man, and was trotted out to show his incredible skills, which he had from a very young age. And unlike a lot of child stars, for lack of a better term, he has not thrown those talents by the wayside. He's just expanded them and moved into other arenas of music, and is now killing it on his own.
Yeah, it's so, I mean, here they his bio on his website mentions his sort of they refer to Buddy Guy as his mentor. So but he's also played with Carlos Santana, which seems intimidating. And then they list BB King, Eric Clapton, I think. And then they list all of his TV show appearances. He was on Ellen. He's been on
Oprah.
Well, I was going to say, like, really, you just need to say Oprah, and everyone, I feel like the rest of them, it's just like, well, if you can hang with her, you're good.
True.
He does have one of those names you could see her kind of doing the sing-songy. I had this idea. Do you remember the Folgers Crystals commercials in the 80s? That's like, we secretly replaced these nuns' coffee with a very strong opiate. Right. So what if the show, it's like 6 contestants and they're dropped in by helicopter somewhere. And I don't mean like the forest, like city or whatever. And, episode 1, they are in Pamplona. They are flown in. A host says to them at the beginning, we've secretly replaced one of the bowls with Geddy Lee from Rush. Go find him. And that's the show. It's called Where's Ged?
I love this show.
Yeah. And I think there's all these different things we could either get him to do or do, but it's always like, obviously, he can't just be in a corner playing fretless bass. He has to be doing something that is out of character for him. So, if anyone's listening, I think we could say we would like to develop this more, but
I think we should. This is better than Battle of the Network Stars.
I think so. Although I feel like this show would probably give away less robes.
I know, but we'd have robes.
We would have robes, yes, definitely. feel like with most people's stories, there's that question of, well, when did you get into music? But you've been playing a long time, longer than most people your age.
Yeah.
When did you start?
I started playing. I picked up a guitar at 3. My parents gave me my first guitar for one Christmas, and it's my 3rd Christmas. And yeah, I didn't really, obviously, when I was a little kid, I didn't think that this would obviously end up being like my career and like what I'm doing for my life or anything like that. But I definitely like loved it right from the time that I picked it up. Like I definitely had an immediate interest for it, like because like there was so much music going on in my house at one time. Like my parents would play me like all of the classic stuff from like the Beatles to like the Grateful Dead to the Allman Brothers Band. So I was getting absorbed in that, so I guess for me, like the guitar was just something that I'd see people play on TV or YouTube or whatever, and just be like mesmerized by it. And like as a little kid, a lot of kids my age would be getting into like football or baseball, sports, whatever their interests or hobbies would be, and mine was the guitar. So yeah, I mean that was like from 3 years old on, I was just obsessed. Yeah.
So does that mean you grew up with like pictures of like posters of Lightning Hopkins and Robert Johnson on your walls instead of Tom Brady?
I guess you could say that. And I mean, those particular, the blues was sort of something that came along a little bit later, like 8, 9 years old when I met Buddy Guy. But
well, because when you're 4, you don't have a lot to have gone wrong in your life yet.
No, exactly.
But by the time you're 8, all kinds of stuff.
So life is over at 8.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I was saying, the Beatles were like the first group of guys that I loved so much and was deeply, deeply into. I saw them for the first time, on the Ed Sullivan Show, like a DVD my parents got me, and I was completely blown away. I don't know. It was just like, it just took me right in. Like I didn't really want to do anything else for a long time, but like watch Beatles videos, that was like an obsession that I had early on. So yeah. I mean that they were posters all over my wall of the Beatles, and, I was also into like the Grateful Dead as well. My parents are both heavily into the Grateful Dead. They've been Deadheads for a while, so that they showed me a lot of that stuff growing up. So yeah, I mean, that was those were like the initial influences growing up. Yeah.
So how did that transpire for our listeners? Like, how did you end up with Buddy Guy at the age of 8?
Well, I met Buddy Guy when I was 8, and he came to a theater locally in my hometown of New Bedford called the Zeiterion. And we knew some people over at the theater, and we knew that he was coming to town to play. And I don't think he had been here for a while. Like he hadn't toured around this area for a long time. So the whole area was very excited to get Buddy here, And yeah, we walked backstage. Like I said, we knew some people over at the theater, so they got us into the show. We found ourselves backstage, me and my dad, and I had my little Squire Fender Stratocaster guitar with me for him to hopefully sign if I met him, Did not think I was going to play with him that night. That was a total surprise that came kind of left field for me. Like I had no idea that was going to happen. And yeah, he was so nice, and I remember him being so gracious and so like welcoming to his environment, and he was so cool. And signed my guitar. I mean, I probably said 3 words to him. I was 8 years old. I was probably super shy, not talkative at all at that time. So I was just just very, very grateful to be in his presence. And yeah, I mean, I played him, a few licks on the guitar, and, right after that, he said, "You'd be ready when I call you." And that was it. And he called me up on stage. He literally pulled me out of the crowd that night, called me on stage. I played the last half an hour of the show with him. It was just, one of those nights that sort of just changed my entire trajectory of life. Like it just changed my entire, like everything. So everything about that night changed forever. So, I owe a lot to Buddy for that. And, and he would, play like every year he'd come to this area, or, 45 minutes to an hour in Boston or whatever. And we'd just get in the car and go see him. And we got in touch with his manager and, got backstage, and it would just be this cycle. We'd go see him, he'd have me play and sit in, and it would be this really amazing thing. And that turned into him then saying, hey, do you want to open some shows for me? I really love the way you play, and I really want to, continue this in a bigger way, So that turned into that, and I started to open shows for him around the world, essentially. I mean, we started small, summers and stuff, and then that turned into, a couple weeks during school year, I would just go out of school real quick and get my work done and stuff, and go do the buddy guy thing. And it was just a whirlwind for like 10 years of my life, so it was just really cool.
And getting to play with Buddy Guy and some of the other people you've gotten to play with or play for, I mean, you were on Oprah, you were on Ellen, you were on the Tonight Show.
Yeah,
all of that is great and wonderful, but there comes a certain point where you kind of go from that, maybe it wasn't a thing at the time, but like kind of the YouTube celebrity, where like, isn't it cute that this kid can do this thing, to you actually have to start, making music and kind of delivering in a way that takes you to that next level.
Absolutely.
How did you get into songwriting, and how did you kind of make that transition? Because that's a very hard right turn for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Songwriting kind of came did not come naturally. I was going to say naturally. It did not come naturally to me. It doesn't really come naturally, I don't think, to anybody. It's kind of like something that it's always like you're trying to get better at it. You're never really satisfied. You kind of just always have that drive to just write the better song. But that kind of came for me when I was like 16, 17. I started co-writing with people, and started getting into writing melodies and that kind of thing, and then lyrics sort of came after. So yeah, it was definitely something that evolved. When I was 12, I was pretty much just playing guitar. I always kind of had a sense of melody, and I was always coming up with stuff on the guitar, but not writing like full songs until probably 16. So I'd say that age I started, thinking about it more, and moving on to like 18, 19. Those were kind of the years where it was like I was no longer a kid, I was becoming an adult, so you no longer have that kid guitar prodigy thing, that label that everybody called me, so you have to navigate your way through it and figure out how you're going to kind of turn this into a real career. You know what I mean? Because like it only, the child thing works for a while, and then it definitely just kind of rubs off, and you're just like, you blend in with all the rest of the musicians trying to make it in the music industry. So it definitely was a bit of an adjustment for me. But once I started to make this new album, I kind of was able to adjust to it, and get more heavily into the writing and stuff like that. So
that's got to be difficult. Like, was that a long process for you to sort of find your voice and sort of your personality? Like you said, you could play well, you could find melodies on the guitar, but then making that extra step, that must have been a hard time to kind of realize, oh, this trick isn't working anymore, I need something else.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It definitely took a long time. It took a long time of talking to various people about it, other songwriters, writing with other people, and being around other musicians and stuff. That sort of taught me how to craft tunes, because you don't really learn that on your own. It's kind of something that you have to be around, and really, I wouldn't even say going to college or school would be as beneficial as actually being in a songwriting situation with people, actually doing it, not that I'm knocking college or anything. I think that's very valuable, but I'm saying, like,
but
just
come on,
a real world situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been beneficial for me, just to be around other friends of mine that write really well, and I was able to always have that, system of people, I was around producers and other writers and stuff. So that was how they sort of helped me, and they're still helping me. I'm still 22, and still learning every day about it. So it's always a learning process for me. Yeah.
Did you ever consider not pursuing music? It's been such a part of life, of your whole life.
No, I actually never. No, I never. Some people ask me that, like, oh, what would you be doing if you weren't doing music? And I got to say, I don't think I would be doing anything else but music. I can't think of anything else, it's just always something that I loved to do, and never really had another, like most people say, oh, you have to have something to fall back on, and I don't know, it's just I always just did it, it was always something I did. So it was like that was what I was going to be doing. I knew very young, luckily, that I wanted to do this for as long as I can.
That's awesome. Even through those awkward years, that's good to hear,
Yeah,
those
absolutely.
transition years. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you, for people who know your backstory, if you will, the coming up, starting up playing with Buddy Guy and some of these other blues greats that you've played with, but the music you're making now, it has a blues influence, but there's a lot more of, there's some pop, there's some, I think you could say, soul in there.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find that? Was that just sort of a natural combination of your interests, or how did you get to there? And you weren't writing, damn right, I've also really got the blues.
Yeah, I mean, I was always, like I said, I was a huge Beatles fanatic as a kid. So I was always listening to other styles of music. Everybody has the misconception that I was only listening to blues and getting in. And I love the blues, but I was also listening to Ray Charles and Al Green, and I was listening to like alternative music, like contemporary pop, like like a lot of like Ed Sheeran and John Mayer were also seeping in to my listening. So like I was listening to everything, you know what I mean? So that style of music, or those styles of music were influencing my writing and the music that I wanted to put out, and that was also influential in helping me find my own voice as a writer,
Can you talk a little bit about the new record? Who plays on it? Do you have a band together now that you're going to take out on the road? Is that the same group that were on the record? Things like that?
Yeah. Well, it's actually a completely different set of musicians that will be touring.
Screw those guys. Yeah. Right.
No. But no, making the record process was really fun. I did this album with a producer named Oliver Lieber, and his dad was Jerry Lieber, who wrote.
He did okay for himself. Yeah.
He did okay for himself. Yeah. If anybody knows great songwriting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very, very cool to hook up with Oliver and in LA, and we did the whole album in his studio, in his backyard studio, and we had the most amazing musicians come in and play on this music. We had Abe Laboriel Jr., which is Paul McCartney's drummer, and we had Aaron Sterling, who plays with John Mayer a lot, and many other great artists playing drums as well. So we had a lot of people on this album, and those are just a couple of names, but we had a lot of great musicians that Oliver hooked me up with that came in and played on this stuff. So it was super, I was just completely mesmerized the whole time. It was just like, kid in a candy store. He also had all of these guitars, vintage guitars that I got to play on it. So it was just, it was great. It was so much fun for me as a guitar player, and but yeah, he really, he taught me a lot too about songwriting, because we actually co-wrote 90% of these songs together. So
Okay.
He was very, very instrumental in helping me find my voice on this album, and really help me direct what I wanted to say on this record. So it was a very, very great process. Yeah.
And you mentioned Abe as one of your drummers, I believe from Lexington, Mass.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
From around here. Yeah.
Sorry, Heidi. Just needed to. So how did you see this album grow and change? You said finding your voice on this. How is it different from what you've done in the past? Or how do you feel when you listen to it now? Kind of what do you make of it? Do you see that growth?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely see this record. To me, is the first album that really shows who I am as an artist. I think it's a coming of age album for me, and not that the other ones weren't good, and I'm very proud of those, but I think this one just feels the most me, and I feel like my voice is finally coming in, and my guitar playing is finally where I want it to be, and everything's kind of lining up musically well right now for me. So I'm very excited for people to hear, the people that have been following me for a while, to hear this and kind of go, wow, he's kind of grown. And also all the new people that are going to come into it, will see this is the album that defines me,
For all your loyal fans who have been following you for all these years,
yeah,
what's going to be the biggest surprise when they hear this new album?
Probably to find out that it's not necessarily a blues album. You know, I think everybody expected me just to make a blues record. And, you know, I think you always have to be very truthful to what you want to be saying musically. And I think if you're doing something just because you want to please other people, I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do. I think you want to be doing something that, you know, fulfills you first, and, you know, you hope it fulfills other people too, you know. But you know, I knew 2 years ago I didn't want to make a strictly blues album. I wanted to have an influenced blues album, you know, influence is there, but never you know, never doing never doing any. I don't think I ever want to be doing anything in one particular genre. I just want to be doing, you know, music, you know, whatever that is, whatever that's rock or soul or blues or pop or whatever it is. I just want to be in it and doing it, you know.
You said you had that idea a few years ago to be like, I don't want to do just blues, I want to expand this. Is that how long you've been working on these songs, or did they come together quickly when you were writing the record, or when you were recording the record?
The record was 2-year process. Yeah, it was definitely the longest time I've ever taken making an album. And these songs, you know, some of them came together very quickly, others didn't. You know, others took a while. You know, like a song like In a World Without You took an hour to write, you know, but then a song like Jessica took a week to write, you know. So, you know, it's like it was all different, you know what I mean? It was all a different kind of process. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like it took an hour to write, but it took you, you know, several years or months to get to that point where you had that hour to just be able to turn that out.
Exactly. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So what response have you gotten to the record? Have you heard back from fans? I know there's a couple singles out, and how eager are you to kind of release this to the world?
Oh, I'm so eager. I'm so eager. Yeah. You know, some artists, I see interviews with them and they're like, oh, I'm so scared to put this out. You know, I'm so like, you know, I wonder what people are going to think, but I'm just excited. You know, I think we live in a world now where we kind of need music, you know, especially with these times that we've been going through. So yeah, the response so far has been great with the singles and stuff. So I'm just looking forward to everybody hearing the full album and, you know, people getting into it. Yeah.
And again, to bring it back to the folks you kind of grew up with, so many of them excelled or excel at playing live and really get their, you know, energy from that. Are you similar? Are you eager to get out there and play this record?
Yeah. I'm a live guy, you know. I love the studio and I love the recording process, but I think my favorite songs and favorite artists, I've always been able to play songs of theirs live like even better than the album. You know what I mean? It's just and you have a crowd response, and it's just a whole atmosphere, you know. So I love being able to play live, and you know, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this album live for sure. I think, you know, I want to stretch out on some of these songs and, you know, create some jams around these tunes, you know. So yeah, I'm definitely ready for it. Yeah.
How could he treat you so badly, baby? I've seen this movie one too many times. You keep saying maybe one day he'll do you right. I just wanna know how many more tears can one girl cry.
Wide Awake, the new album by Quinn Sullivan, is available this Friday, June 11th. For more information, go to his website, quinnsullivanmusic.com.
You can follow us on all the various socials. You can check out our website at rockandrollgradschool.com for more grad school content. And please leave us a review on iTunes. We're tired of asking our family members to do so.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant executive producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. Our graphic designer is Samantha Mastonen. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.
You find a better man. I'm so done being shy.